Please welcome Eric Harrison and Vicki Pace.
Good morning, Hartford. I know the coffee has to settle in a little bit, but good morning, Hartford.
Good morning.
Good morning. And welcome to the Commercial Real Estate and Building Industry Breakfast. I'm Eric Harrison, President and CEO of your United Way, and with me is Vicki Pace, Chair of United Way's Board of Directors.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for coming out to this fantastic event. The energy in the room is palpable. It's fantastic to see a full house. So thanks so much for joining us today. Just, something to remember. United Way's mission is to mobilize people and resources for the well-being of children and families in our community, Central and Northeastern Connecticut more specifically. And today's event is a living example of how bringing together individuals in the community can have a powerful impact for us.
And we are so proud to be able to partner with the commercial real estate and building industry to move the needle on preventing and addressing homelessness. I want to extend a special thanks to the committee who was instrumental in planning and executing today's event. Today's event is the platinum standard of fundraising, not only for United Way, but for our community. So a big round of applause for the Commercial Real Estate Breakfast Committee.
Because of your attendance and sponsorship today, United Way will be able to continue to increase our support, a strong network of partners who are addressing homelessness in the greater Hartford area.
And we'll have more on that later in the program. But quickly, before we dive in, on behalf of United Way, we wanted to congratulate the Building Foundations Committee on receiving our highest volunteer honor at United Way, the Community Service Award, earlier this year. Photographer. Here we go. Thank you. Great. The committee is comprised of mission-driven individuals who truly want to create lasting change for children and families in our community and are very deserving of this recognition. So again, congratulations.
Yay. We have a fantastic morning planned for you, so without further ado, please join me in welcoming two of the founding members of this event, Ed Kindlin and Brian Zellman.
Welcome. I'm Ed Kindlin with Cohn Resnick, and I want to thank all of our colleagues in the commercial real estate and building industry for coming together with United Way to reduce and prevent homelessness in the greater Hartford region. The idea for today's event came from our colleagues in the industry in Boston, who have been partnering with United Way of Massachusetts Bay and Merrimack Valley for nearly 30 years. Our vision was to hold an event that brought our industry together to rally around an important cause and network with one another. Our vision, thanks to all of you, has now become the event for the commercial real estate and building industry. Our first two events collectively raised $722,000 to address and prevent homelessness. Today, we are poised to collectively raise $1.1 million with your support. And thank you so much for that support. Today's event would not be possible without the more than 90 sponsors from our industry who lent their support to this breakfast. We are grateful to our presenting sponsor, Trammell Residential, who not only returned in this role, but also increased their support. At this time, please join me in welcoming Matt Ensler from Trammell Residential to say a few words.
Good morning. I'm thrilled to be here representing Trammell Residential and to be involved in such a fantastic event for our industry for the second year in a row. While our company is not based here in Hartford, this community and our partners here like Cigna are very important to us. We're thrilled to join this effort to raise critical funds to prevent and address homelessness in Greater Hartford. Trammell Residential is also proud to partner with an organization like United Way, who is a convener and community change maker. Funds raised today benefit United Way-supported partner programs who focus on emergency shelter and diversion efforts, including Journey Home, who you will hear more about later this morning. It is now my pleasure to introduce Sheila Mosquera-Bruno, Commissioner of Connecticut's Department of Housing.
Good morning. You know, I have to confess, morning is not my best suit. I have to come from the New Haven area. Anyway, it's really a pleasure to be here. I want to thank Eric and United Way for inviting me and having me with all of you. It's a great pleasure to see a lot of faces, but it was a great pleasure to see a person that I haven't seen in like 10 years. So thank you, Eric. Peter Hauscher was a board member of my previous organization. Peter, where are you? So thank you. It was nice to see him. So Eric, thank you. I'm Sheila Mosquera-Bruno, Commissioner for Connecticut Department of Housing. For the past 4 years, in addition to having a pandemic and to react and to also protect our citizens with rent relief and a lot of other services that we provided. For those, because this is a real estate crowd and financing people, we build and preserve more than 9,000 units in the state of Connecticut. In addition to that, those were with resources from the state of Connecticut, about $500 million. And some of you perhaps remember that when we started 4 years ago, the governor had something called the debt diet. But regardless of the debt diet, we were able to use $500 million that brought in the state of Connecticut about $2 billion in activities within the real estate industry. So just to give you a little bit of what is coming next, the next 4 years, the governor, as you have seen the budget, has put in about $600 million for housing. And that means for affordable housing, deep affordable, that gets to the heart of your work to try to build more affordable housing, supportive housing, and making sure that people have a house instead of a shelter. $300 million is for that, in addition to the $200 million for middle-income housing. And those are for individuals that are making between $60,000 to $100 and $120, which are paying more than 50% of their income. So he really wants to make sure that we incentivize the market. We want to work with for-profit developers. We want to work with our bankers so that the process is easy and fast, which is what we like to do, is being efficient. And in addition to that is another $100 million for homeownership. We created a program called Time to Own. We started last June, and today with $40 million, we have about 1,100 first-time homeowners. Even with the market the way it is, even with the interest rate that is a little high, but the fact that we're providing up to $50,000 for down payment and closing costs, I have helped 1,100 families to be homeowners for the first time, to be able to build equity because it's a down payment assistance that is forgivable at the end of the 10 years. Every year we'll forgive a tenth. So how better way to build equity than being a homeowner? So those are some highlights of what is coming next. Thank you very much for supporting Journey Home. We are working with all our service providers across the state to make sure that people have home. And just an example of what we have been doing here in Hartford, there is another nonprofit that provides the same services as Journey Home that we provide funding to acquire a hotel. So we're trying also to think about how do we provide emergency housing differently instead of just a bed, but provide a hotel styling where also they can get the services that they need. If it's substance abuse, if it's mental health, they have those services in the place that they are living with additional training, vocational training. So with that, thank you very much for having me. It's awesome, and I will talk if anybody has any questions, if anybody wants to partner with us in our next 4 years of building and creating more housing, please let me know. Thank you.
ladies and gentlemen, Alexandra Dum.
I feel like a professional athlete with that introduction. I don't really get that very often. Anyway, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Selah, and thank you to the United Way for putting on what does seem to be the event based on the attendance here in the room and based on how much you all raised last year and are planning to raise this year. The event for commercial real estate and for the housing industry in Hartford. So I'm Alexandra Dom. I'm the Commissioner for Economic and Community Development, partner very closely with Selah on making sure that we are building our downtowns as it relates to economic development, and specifically more and more as it relates to housing. I think 3 years ago, the person who had my job probably wasn't talking about housing as much as I am these days. But if I go to any employer, maybe 3 years ago, the top 3 things were taxes and electricity, and we're still talking about that stuff. But really, very top of the list for employers in the state right now is also housing costs and housing availability for their employees. We have 100,000 open jobs, give or take at any given time in the state right now. And so filling those jobs is priority number 1 for me and top of the governor's priority list. We can't fill those jobs if we can't find places, affordable, uppercase and lowercase affordable places for workers to live in the state. And that's why the money that Commissioner Mascara-Bruno mentioned that focuses on those middle income earners is particularly exciting as a new initiative for the administration to target folks that are making that, they're working, but they're above what would normally be sort of uppercase affordable housing, and they're not quite making it into our luxury market. So we're really excited that we've got money going towards every section of the housing market with the governor's proposed budget, and that the legislature is largely on board. We're in the middle of figuring out where the budget's going to land, but the legislature has also really prioritized housing dollars in their proposed budget as well. So I think wherever we land, we're going to land with big dollars going towards housing creation in the state. So I think just want to close by saying thank you to everyone here who's showing up for housing, both physically and hopefully financially later. And thank you. And the administration is going to be there. We're also putting our money where our mouth is. So you all are showing up, but we're also really showing up on this issue. And I hope you're going to see really significant housing production as a result over the next coming years. So thank you for having me. And over to Brian, who normally, when I'm at these events, is in the audience asking me very difficult questions. So I'm thrilled that he doesn't have a chance to do that right now, and I think I'm handing it over to him.
Thank you to Commissioners Dahm and Mascara-Bruno for being with us. I'm Brian Zellman with Zellman Real Estate, and I'm proud to be one of the founding committee members for this event. I'd like to thank everybody here today. You're not only leaders in our industry, but leaders in philanthropy. In building this event, we partnered with United Way so that our industry could have a big impact on an issue that's important to all of us, preventing and addressing homelessness. Inspired by our late friend and colleague, Jeff Deagle, we sought to create an opportunity in which our connection with one another created a ripple effect and an incremental impact on people in central and northeastern Connecticut. This event has really become about connecting with one another, our community, and other sectors to make a real difference. For more on our impact and how the funds raised today will make a difference, please welcome Chris Arnold of Liberty Bank, today's networking sponsor and member of our Building Foundations Committee.
Good morning, everyone. And thanks, Brian. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm Chris Arnold. I manage the commercial real estate area for Liberty Bank. It's a special day for Liberty Bank today. It's our 198th anniversary birthday. We're one of the largest mutual banks in the country. So I'm happy to be here and happy to be with all my friends here. We are very proud to partner with the commercial real estate and building industry and United Way on this event. United Way brings together people and resources to address immediate needs and to find long-term solutions. In the area of homelessness, United Way works in 2 ways. The first is to prevent homelessness from ever occurring by providing rent and and utility assistance so that people stay in their homes. Should adults and families experience homelessness, United Way ensures coordination of services so that people in need of shelter or safety due to domestic violence or other challenges get it quickly and are able to move into stable housing as soon as possible. Despite the economic challenges we all have encountered this year, this event has allowed United Way to continue to increase its support of partners who are working to end homelessness in central and northeastern Connecticut. This year, nearly 34% of all calls made to United Way 211, just shy of 53,000 in total, were for information about housing and shelter needs in central and northeastern Connecticut. Thanks to the support this year, nearly 4,300 people avoided homelessness. More than 900 individuals received emergency shelter to homelessness or domestic violence. Numbers are great, but now we will have an opportunity to hear more about why this work matters. You may have not known this before attending the event today that United Way is doing important work, you may have known before attending this event today that United Way was doing important work in the community, but what you may have not known is that this year's Jeff Deagle Award honoree, Bill Farley, who has been extremely instrumental in developing the structure by which partners work on addressing homelessness today, is made a tremendous impact. So take a look at the video.
The idea for the event, the commercial real estate breakfast in Hartford, really came out of attending an event in Boston that was similar, and then thought about it, had some conversations with Dave and Mark, and said, gee, Hartford's commercial real estate industry doesn't really have something similar here, and wouldn't that be great if we could rally a group to do something like that? It was a partnership really between the United Way and the commercial real estate industry.
This is a great opportunity to do things together and affect a community that we're so proud of and live in every day, so we can make a difference.
Homelessness is this big complex social problem. There's no one single cause of it. It takes an entire community and all kinds of strategies to try to solve this complex social issue.
Today I work at United Way, making sure that we're getting resources out in the community. But right after college, I was struggling to land a job. I had an English degree and trying to figure out what I was going to do with that. Had to come home early. Unfortunately, we couldn't afford the rest of my master's and certification. And so the college loans hit and I had to pay the bills, and I found myself working for a temp agency. And unfortunately at the time, due to just some family dynamics and some miscommunication and challenges, I ended up being put out of the house. When we think about homeless people, we have these assumptions and these preconceptions of how they ended up homeless, or oh, they must have done this, they did something wrong, it's their fault. And the reality of it is it can be anybody. So let's work together. Let's be proactive. Let's make sure that we're talking, make sure we're giving our time, giving our dollars if we can, and that we're working as a community to build stronger individuals, to build stronger families, to build stronger neighborhoods. And that way we can help make sure that people don't have to go through these situations, and that we're being proactive and preventative.
The government funding that we receive to run the programs and services within the homeless services system, it does not cover the true costs of the programs. And so we rely on the corporate sector and individual donors to be able to make up that gap, to be able to fund the system.
I think that everybody gets very, very, very busy in their personal lives and in their business lives. And when Jeff reached out to people, he made them realize there's a lot more out there and bigger purpose. And so I think people need to go there and know that there's a bigger purpose out there, and giving back is so important to our fulfillment as people.
And I think Bill falls in that category, and it's nice that there was an effort to really put his legacy back on the table for people to remember, because it's an incredible legacy. Listen, Bill holds a dear place in my heart. I started in this industry with this company, with the Farley Company. I left that company in 1991 to start my firm. I could not have been any better company and been mentored any better than not just Bill, but Bill, of course, was a leader of that great organization, but all the people that Bill had that worked for him. And if you look at the industry and how many people have actually come outside from Bill's company, it's pretty impressive. There's a lot of people out there that aren't working for what is now CB Richard Ellis, carrying on his legacy. And it's great to see somebody like him, because I think over time we all forget about just the connection that certain people had to our great community.
Simply put, Bill, to me, is the father of commercial real estate in Hartford. He's been called the dean of commercial real estate, and both really apply. There's no way it's humanly possible to do all of the things and accomplish all the things that Bill did. So I think today he may tell us he did have a twin or a clone, and that's how he got all that stuff done.
So Journey Home is a nonprofit agency, and our mission is around ending homelessness. And we do that by trying to prevent as many people as we can from becoming homeless. We try to speed up the process for how quickly people get housing who are already experiencing homelessness. And then we try to provide them with the furnishings and the services that they need once they're in housing to never become homeless again.
So I met Bill after he had turned off the board, he had retired. Over the years, we have created this really special bond, and I feel like in a lot of ways, he's my biggest cheerleader, he's my angel, and he really helps me guide the work that I do. I sort of want to do a better job because I know Bill is listening and watching and hearing, and because I'm just completely inspired by him and who he is as a person and what he's done to make our world a better place.
Yeah, I think one of the things that most impressed me with Bill is how he was such an influential person, like a natural leader, and other corporations, businesses, people wanted to do whatever he was asking them to do, and he chose to use his power for something good for the community. He didn't have to do that, but he did. Just showed his true love for this work, for the mission of ending homelessness. And
he did it with a ton of humility and no ego.
Bill Farley had that special gift. When he talked to you, he made you think you were the most important person in the world, and no one else was in the room. He just made you feel special, and that's a gift. And Bill had that, and I think it helped make him very successful.
Bill, I love you, and thank you so much for paving the way and for creating the opportunity to make a difference, to make a change in our region. You have helped develop a model that people are looking at all over the nation, and we are incredibly grateful that you stepped out in faith and you didn't let fear get in the way, and that you saw this vision, and not only did you see it, you helped build it, and then you support us.
Bill, thank you for your vision and for your leadership in making this incredible work happen around ending homelessness. The world is truly a better place because of you, Bill.
Unbelievable. All I can say is thank goodness I actually saw that a few days ago, because it would be a little tough to actually speak right at the moment if I did not. So, Bill, thank you. My name is Mark Duclos. I am with Century Commercial. I'm also one of the founding members of this great organization. How cool is this? This is very, very cool. Chris Arnold, Liberty Bank, thank you. We appreciate your support. Appreciate your involvement, very much so. It's amazing how a small group or Bills of the world, not just this group, but I mean people up there and what you do and how it inspires our community. And it's amazing how it changes our community. This is change in our community for the betterment. And we always hear about the bad stuff, but this is all the good stuff. So again, thank you for the people involved in this committee. Thank you involved for United Way, but very much thank you all for being involved in this effort. We appreciate it. Thank you. So with that, let's get this going. In 2007, Bill Farley said yes. He said yes to uniting a community to find a new way to address homelessness. He said yes to establishing a great organization to do so. He said yes to starting Journey Home, a United Way partner. So today, each of us have the opportunity to say yes. We have the opportunity to say yes to making an impact on our community. How? By raising funds. As an industry, raising funds as an industry and a community to address homelessness in our community. At this time, I'd like to invite my friends, Mike Riccio and Ed Kindlin, to join me and Brian on stage. All right. So now I'd like to introduce you to a familiar face in the room, Symphony Privet. Where's Symphony? Where is she? Oh, she's hiding. All right. Symphony is with Fox 61 News. Fox 61 News is a media sponsor, is our media sponsor. You ready to go?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right, let's do it.
Good morning, sunshine. Are you guys ready? Let's go ahead. I know the caffeine, it has to get into your system. Can we start off with a quick exercise? All right, guys, I want you to relax, roll your shoulders backwards, get loosened up, roll them forward a few times. Feeling good? Feeling good? All right, I just want to make sure you guys are good and loose and ready to raise your hand. All right.
Okay, that's a good start. Good morning, and I'd like to echo Mark's comments about what this looks like from here. This is amazing, it's awesome, it's inspiring, and we thank you. I'm with CBRE, and I'm also proud to be one of the founding members of this Building Foundation Committee, and we work hard all year long to plan this event. I'm also honored to have had the chance to work with today's honoree, Bill Farley. As Mark said, we have a real opportunity to make a difference right now by making a donation that will have incremental impact on addressing homelessness in our region. We're going to invite you, ready for this, to make a personal donation right now on a descending scale that's meaningful to you. Please be extra generous today to help us honor this year's Jeffrey Deagle Award recipient, Bill Farley. Journey Home, a United Way partner and the agency that Bill Farley helped to found, will receive a portion of the proceeds raised during this part of the event. Our goal is to raise $60,000 this morning between now and the end of the program. Are you ready? We'll start. If anybody wants to give a $2,500 donation to kick us off. And I'll start by being the first to raise my hand. Please join me at some level that you feel comfortable.
Mike, I'll join you at 2,500.
Okay.
All right.
Here we go. Dave Soul, thank you very much, Dave. We've got 3.
All right.
Mark Vasington, thank you very much. We've got 4. Anybody else out there? Abner Krohn, thank you very much. $2,500. Thank you. Anybody else?
Come on, guys.
My Symphony.
I'm trying to get my steps in. Let's go.
All right,
Here we go.
right here.
All right.
Very nice. Henry, thank you.
Henry's Axe. Henry's Axe, $2,500. Thank you very much. Anybody else?
Oh, let me get to you, sir, so we can hear you.
Who was that?
Excuse me.
Bob Samuels, $1,000.
All right.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. Anybody
What about
else?
This side of the room. You guys are quiet. Come on.
Okay. Ed?
Anybody?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Temperature?
There are 3 ways to complete your donation. You can donate via credit card. Take out your phone and text BF 2023 to 41444. And once you text BF 2023 to 41444, you immediately receive an automated response with a link to complete your donation. The United Way staff members with credit card readers who can take your donation also immediately if you need or help or prefer that option. Finally, you can also donate by the pledge card that's at your table, and you can leave that and a United Way member will collect that. Steph, Symphony, where are you?
Back here.
Back there. Okay. Anyone who donates $500 or more during this portion of the program will be entered to win prizes like tickets to see the Temptations.
All right.
And the 4 Tops at the Hartford Healthcare Amphitheater in Bridgeport, courtesy of Mike Kolakowski and KBE.
Very nice. All right, Jim.
Jim Carter, $1,000. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike. Next, we are looking for anybody that wants to make a contribution of $2,000. Would anyone like to raise their hand for that?
2,000. Come on, guys. You guys have been quiet.
Symphony would love to talk to you if you're making a $2,000 pledge.
$2,000. You don't have to raise your hand. You can text the number 2.
You go to
I see a hand up over there.
Over there, Symphony.
Over here. All right.
You're going to get your steps in.
Thank you very much.
Like I said.
Who's that over there?
In the face of great need, it is more important than ever to be united. And being united as an industry is what this event is all about.
Okay, guys. Let's work back over here. Good
All right.
morning.
So, thank you. In doing this, you will not only be leaders in our industry, but as an added benefit, anyone who pledges $1,000 or more right now will be included in United Way's 2 prestigious leadership giving societies, Tocqueville and Constitution.
Let's keep filling that thermometer. Who can join us in making a $1,000 donation today?
Hey, I have a.
I'm in for 1,000. Who else?
We have a $2,000 donation from the Bank Foundation over here, guys.
Lewis Brown for 1,000.
We have who else? Melissa Ferrucci is $1,000. Melissa here. Melissa, thank you.
Anybody else? In the back? We got one. Thank you.
All right.
There it is.
All right.
Gentleman from Sunderland Electric for 1,000.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. We're moving on. I don't think you have to tell it what the cause is for. You've heard enough of it. All right. I got the task of $500. Who's good for $500? I'm putting in $500. John, thank you. Con Resnick. Appreciate it. Where else? $500. $500. We got $500 right here. Sound like an auctioneer. $500. Going once. No, I'm not going twice or 3 times. Keep it going.
All right.
What do we got? Symphony, what do we got out there?
Okay, come on, guys. Oh, here we go. Hey,
Thank you,
good
Scott.
Scott,
Thank you,
here we
Scott.
go. $500. Scott Consoli. Thank
Who are
you.
you?
Scott Consoli,
Okay, where are you from?
As I said.
Consoli Bortola and Law Group.
Right,
All right.
Thank you, Scott.
We got 500 in the back.
Okay,
Ted.
here we
Very
go.
nice.
Thank you, sir.
Excuse me.
Ted Cutler, Texon Architects. Good job.
Symphony
You can
up
point
here.
Right here, table 15.
Here we go, Symphony. Let's go, guys. Symphony, let's go. Let's go. Get
Bob
your steps
Botters.
in.
Bob Botters for $500. Thank you, Bob.
Okay.
Bob Otters, thank you. He already raised his hand, but it should probably John. John, introduce yourself. $500.
John.
Introduce yourself.
All right,
Come on.
Here I am, John. Right
Who else
behind
did we miss?
Great to be here. John Turgeon with Cone Resident.
He's blushing. I know how it feels. Who else did we miss? Somebody also gave.
D'Onofrio.
All right, and right here. Somebody right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, same table.
Very
We
nice.
need to be in a little friendly competition with each other at the same table.
All right. So where's that? So we're getting there.
Cone Resident. Great.
Very nice. Thank you. Appreciate it. $500. We're not going away. I'm a broker. What can I tell you?
Are you guys asleep over here on this side of the room? Come on.
Everybody else, $500.
500. Anyone? You guys, come on.
All right. Anybody else? I am going once, twice, 3 times. All right, moving on. Brian, you're up.
Okay, this is it. We're going to go to $250.
Right.
Jeff Deagle is smiling as we speak. He's looking down on us. $250 over there.
Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you. Who else? We've got 2 for $250 right here.
Over here. 2.
Table 6. Thank you very much.
Oh, where are you guys?
Right there.
Right over here.
Green. And
Raise your
orange.
hands here, table.
Can't miss them.
All right. Over here. Okay, right up
Another.
front.
Warmer. Warmer. Right here.
Right up here.
Colder. Colder.
Oh, right here. Forgive me. It's kind of.
Thank you.
There
Thank
you
you.
go. Who are we? Go ahead. Let's
Ready?
introduce.
Tell me
Yeah.
who you are.
Hi, we are Bill's daughter.
All right.
Oh my gosh.
Daughters, and very proud of him. And
Absolutely.
always knew we were lucky, but even more so now.
Wonderful. Yes.
Thank you very much.
250 we got over here. You got to run. Somebody, you got to run.
Here we go.
It's a big room.
250. Raise your hand one more time. Oh, right in the back. All right, sounds good. On my way.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's
And
do
look, guys, they're fast. They'll come to you in a second here.
250.
Got deep corner.
Oh, okay.
What we need is
that
Paul
Paul?
over there. If somebody can match it over there so
Paul
we can get
LaMonica?
Symphony to run.
All right.
Abner, did you
Paul,
scratch your head
deep
or
corner,
raise your
and we
hand?
got somebody
Right in
here
the
gave
corner.
already.
Okay, coming to you.
There we go. We're not done yet. We're not going anywhere.
All right, sir, young man.
$500.
Oh, 500 here.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. And we have one right here. And music just keeps going.
All right, here we
Okay.
go. Yeah, that's right.
All
That's
right.
what we like to see.
Very nice.
Mark, you want to close?
All righty.
Do I have a
You got
close?
time really quickly?
Here's my clothes.
A shout out to TCR for being here, our partner, and just so nice for them to be involved, and great to see a fantastic turnout. Everybody here. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate the effort.
Thank you very much.
All right. So again, thank you. Thank you. Well, I know, listen, sometimes that's tough, but guess what? That thermometer keeps going up, and it's for a good cause, so we very much appreciate it. I was at one on Saturday with Hartford Promise, and it was kind of the same thing. It's amazing what this cause is, so it's going to really great purposes here, so thank you. By the way, you can keep donating. We don't have to keep screaming it. You can keep donating. We're good. You got 3 different ways, right?
That's right.
All right, cool. So, all right. Just personally, I think it's amazing to watch this community, and when I say the community, the commercial real estate, or just the general real estate community, get together and do this. We've always thought that if you had a community like the size of the real estate community in Hartford, and basically actually in every city in America, there's a lot of power in that. I mean, there's a lot of power. It's not just in numbers, it's in the people that are involved in the industry, and this is really cool to watch. So thank you all. We really appreciate it. So, get my order here because I speak off cuff. So at this time, the big moment, we'd like to honor the legacy of our colleague and friend, Jeff Deagle by presenting our second Jeff Deagle Award to an industry leader from our community. Mike.
Thank you, Mark. Jeff Deagle was extremely humble and often understated, but he had this quiet energy that inspired action. Jeff gave 110% to everything that he did, and as much as he loved commercial real estate, and he did, it was being involved in the community and developing educational opportunities for youth that truly became his passion. Jeff served on many nonprofit boards, including Charter Oak Cultural Center, Habitat for Humanity. And through his community involvement, Jeff met many people, including Patrick Moore, who Jeff would go on to partner with to start Covenant Prep in Hartford, the school whose mission is to provide young men from underserved communities the foundation required to successfully pursue higher education, to develop the strength of their character, and to inspire them to live with integrity as leaders committed to their communities. This did become Jeff's passion. And as with many things that Jeff loved, the passion became contagious. If he ever called you, you would know that. Jeff rallied friends and colleagues for support in order to open the doors of the school in 2008. I can't help but think that if Jeff were here with us today, he'd be right in the mix. He'd be yelling, "We need more money." Connecting people and strengthening the community were two things he just loved to do. So a portion of the proceeds from our event today will benefit Covenant Prep in Jeff's name. Last year, we honored Alan Lazowski with the first ever Jeffrey Deagle Award, and Alan has a few words. He couldn't be with us, but he has a few words he'd like to share with this year's honoree. Roll the video.
Hi, Bill. It's Laz here. Congratulations on winning the Jeff Deagle Award. I wish I was there personally to hand you this award. So well deserved, and what an honor for you and your family. Bill, I remember when we first met back in 1981, and when Laz first started, and what a gentleman you have been and a mentor to me and so many over the years. This honor and award is so well deserved, and thank you for your commitment to our capital city. Thank you for your commitment to humanity, to fighting poverty, homelessness. And I remember when I was on the initial board of the Homeward Bound Foundation with you that you helped start. So thank you from Laz, from our entire Laz Nation, from myself personally, and from the city of Hartford for all you do. God bless you and congrats.
Now I'd like to welcome Jim Carter of Carter Realty to introduce this year's Jeffrey Deagle Award recipient. Jim?
Good morning. What an honor it is to be here today to introduce this year's honoree for the Jeff Deagle Award. However, before I do that, please allow me a brief reflection. 40 years ago, my wife and I moved to the Hartford area, where I was taking a position at the Phoenix in their real estate department. I was fresh out of grad school, and Hartford was booming as the insurance companies were getting into the money management business in a big way. The city was filling up with finance students. Jeff Deagle and his wife Jane were part of that wave, as Jeff was taking a position at the Aetna. We ended up living in the same West Hartford neighborhood with Jeff and Jane, and our long friendship began. As I grew to know Jeff, it was clear that he was a very special person. Jeff was sincere, caring, high integrity, and had a gift to connect to people at all levels, especially raising money. I was honored to work closely with Jeff and Patrick Moore on the starting of Covenant Prep. Jeff is really one very special person. It is Jeff's legacy that we are honoring today, and the recipient of this year's is an epitome of what Jeff stood for. Back in the 80s, when Jeff and I had started our careers here, the big annual local real estate event was the Farley Breakfast. Feels a little deja vu, doesn't it, Bill? Bill was truly a unique business leader. He was on his way to creating the largest real estate brokerage company in the state by building strong relationships with the insurance companies as they grew. Some would say that Bill was in the right place at the right time, but I know that he worked extremely hard, had developed a great leadership team at his company, and he earned the respect of the corporate community. Despite the burden of running his own firm and raising a family of 8, 2 of which he and his wife Ruth adopted from South America, Bill was equally known for his leadership in the real estate industry, his personal and corporate involvement in the community, and his strong Christian values. Bill was involved in many trade organizations, many of which he was founder of, such as the Hartford chapter of BOMA, where he also served as president. He played an instrumental role in the formation of Encore International, was president of the Connecticut chapter of Real Estate Counselors, a member of SIOR, and was recognized by the Yukon Center of Real Estate Studies with a Lifetime Achievement Award. Bill's involvement in the community was vast, centered on caring for the poor, such as serving meals at the House of Bread, where he served on the board for 14 years, and being involved in numerous supportive housing projects throughout Hartford. An effort that's already been discussed today that exemplified Bill's passion and leadership came by a way of a challenge from the past mayor, Eddie Perez of Hartford. The mayor asked him to chair a special commission to end homelessness. This was certainly no small challenge, but the commission, with Bill's leadership, not only studied the issue, but came up with an action plan in the formation of Journey Home. This organization is now such a critical social service agency in our Hartford that has been running strong for 16 years. Finally, anyone who knows Bill knows he wears his Christianity on his sleeve. He is a devout Catholic, holds a master's degree in religious studies, has done everything from teaching CCD classes to being one of the founders of the Hartford Prayer Breakfast. If the Catholic Church allowed priests to marry, I'm convinced that Bill would have been a missionary priest. Bill's leadership skills, not only in the founding of his company, but also in our industry, and his many efforts to make the Hartford community a better place, is why Bill Farley is here to be recognized as this year's recipient of the Jeff Deagle Award. Without further delay, it is my honor to introduce my good friend, Bill Farley, and present him with the Jeff Deagle Award.
Wow. I was thinking of a coffee cup that an old friend of mine, Jerome Massimino, he was a Franciscan. Some of you may have known him. He had this wonderful cup and said on the front of it, "I am humble." The other side said, "and damn proud of it." So, wow, I've heard all those things. I didn't know who they were talking about. First, I'd like to recognize and thank a bunch of people. I met Jane Deagle this morning for the first time. Jane, I just wish that I had known your husband better, and that was my loss, because I've heard so many wonderful things about him, and I'm honored to receive that award. Jim Carter, he used the word epitome. What was that about? I don't know. So I got to check that one in the dictionary. But thank you, Jim. Jim and I have been extremely close friends for decades, and again, a blessing of mine. Thank all of the sponsors. Thank all of you who dug into your pocket for the homeless and others. Thank you for the United Way for doing such a great job. Thank you for a good chunk of my family being here this morning, and so many other friends. I will not introduce all of my family, but I will give a shout out to my granddaughter, Erin. Well, most of you don't know this, but last July 6th, I died. I was stung by a bee or a hornet or a wasp right here. 5 minutes later, I cratered. I was out. Erin was visiting from Maine, where she's an athletic trainer. In fact, the head of the athletic trainers at the University of New England. And she pounced on me, did it, broke all my ribs and my sternum, which is the proper way for doing CPR. And I ended up in a coma, induced coma in the hospital. And 33 days later, I got out of a hospital bed. But so I need a good shout out to Erin for keeping me there. To quote a friend of mine in New York, he said, "Boy, that granddaughter of yours, she saved your life, but she beat the crap out of you." Which is true. So, okay, I thought for a couple of minutes, and I'll try to keep it brief, but I thought I would go back and review where it all started in the Farley Company, which was the beginning of 1968. And the vast majority of you will not remember this, because I've seen you're so young. But the city of Hartford was a very different city. And it's a different city today, and it's going to be a different city tomorrow. But back in 1968, it was downtown. That was it. That's where everything happened. If you needed to buy something for a Christmas gift or a birthday gift, you bought it downtown. You went to G. Fox, 11 stories of retail, sitting there, and according to the press at the time, the single largest privately owned department store in the United States. And to all of you women out there, had a CEO, Beatrice Fox Auerbach, who was probably one of the strongest executives in the United States at the time. The word was that in 1960, they were doing over $60 million of revenue out of that one store. Had all these little blue trucks that ran all over Connecticut, Western Mass, Rhode Island. But it wasn't just G. Fox. There was Brown Thompson, there was Sage Allen, E.J. Corvette, Steigers, and then all of the national companies, W.T. Grant, Woolworth, Kresge, Sears, Roebuck. They had actually started a new store in Corbin's Corner, but they still had the downtown store on State Street. There were 3 dining clubs downtown, the Hartford Club, the University Club, and the City Club. There were all kinds of good restaurants downtown and banks literally on every corner, all of which were based in Hartford. Hartford National, CBT, Society for Savings, Mechanic Savings, Charter Oak Bank, etc. And the downtown was the happening place. There were no malls at that time, by the way. And the other thing I discovered when I was checking some notes, and it's kind of fun going back and doing that, Interstate 91 was 10 years old. Interstate 84 going through Hartford did not exist. I mean, how do you wrap your head around that? It was opened in 1969. I did not recall that. So it was a booming town, and it was a great town. And then the 70s came along. It's big change again. The Gold Building, David Chase was building the Gold Building on the block that Harold Conover, one of my mentors, had assembled. And Harold, when I started the business, I didn't have much money. He had 4 children at the time. Ruth and I did, and didn't have a lot of money. And Harold said, "You'll do my leasing, and I'll give you 4 months free rent." That was an unheard of event at that time. Now, it was the second floor rear, 49 Pearl Street, and it was an office maybe 12 by 15, had the biggest damn safe you've ever seen in it. It was about this high and about this wide. Nobody could open it, by the way. I kept living in hope that someday we'd find the way to get that thing open, but we didn't. Anyway, the other things happened in the 70s. The Civic Center was built twice. I mean, 78 it opened, the roof collapsed, it was rebuilt again. And Aetna stepped in and did the Civic Center Mall, another department store. Aetna designed the mall, and they said, we need a department store to anchor it. And they could not find one. So they started their own store, and they called it Lutkins. Bill Lutkins had been the senior VP at G. Fox. And there were 50 stores in that mall. I read that, and I said, wow, I don't remember that many. But it was a pretty active mall. And guess what happened in the 70s? The Whalers came to town. WHA ex-champions. And they came to town in 75, 79. The WHA and the NHL got together, and we had the only professional big league team in Hartford. And it was great. And another thing I didn't remember was that in 1986, I believe it was, we had the All-Star game in Hartford. So all the hockey eyes were on our town. Then we got into the 80s. We had the greatest office building boom ever. It was just incredible. Millions of square feet were added. There were actually 3 developers planning a 50-story building, 50-plus stories, 3 of them. Now, how do you think the office market would be today if we had even one of those? And that would be scary. But it was a wonderful career. The Farley Company grew. We were real community players. We helped at the request of Bernie Sullivan, the then police chief, who was a friend of mine. He said he had a need, the Police Athletic League. And Mark, you remember working with those kids, and we just had a great time doing a lot of good things for the community. So, my life was great. It was wonderful. Great family. The family was growing. We lived in Simsbury. We were getting involved in activities out there. And everything was great, but something was missing. I really couldn't figure, but something was really not quite there. And I had an epiphany. One day I was returning from lunch to my then office at 100 Pearl. That was the 2.5-story 100 Pearl. And I was walking on Pearl Street, right about where the entrance is to the Gold Building garage, which was coincidentally right about where 49 Pearl Street, where it started, the business used to exist. And a drunk fell down in front of me on the sidewalk. And I skirted the drunk, because I was apparently on the way to a really important meeting. Have no idea what it would have been. But I walked around that person, and I went to my office. And about an hour later, it came to me. I said, what the heck? What did I do? What did I not do? So I had found a friend named Harvey Pinion, who was an assistant minister up at Asylum Hill Church. And we had both been helping San Juan Center get stabilized in the North End. And I called Harvey. I said, oh my God, Harvey, this is what happened. What do I do? He said, come down to the Friendship Center tomorrow morning. Friendship Center was a soup kitchen run by the Center City Churches on South Green. And Harvey was the guy running it. So I went down there in the morning. I got up early with great intent, I drove in and I looked and I said, well, there's got to be a better parking space. So I drove around the block, got around again. I said, there's got to be a better parking space than this. I did it 3 times, and I went to my office. And I repeated that for 2 more days, that same drill. For some reason, I was scared to go into a soup kitchen. I really was. Finally, I said, who's in charge here? So on the 4th day, by the way, that parking space was directly in front of the Friendship Center all of those days. So I parked my car, went in, and Harvey said, go have a cup of coffee. So I went over, and pretty soon I was talking to the people there and serving coffee, and it really felt good. So I had another friend, Dave McDonald, Father Dave McDonald, who I called a street priest. He was just a wonderful, wonderful man. Shared many dinners with our family at our house. And so Dave said, there's a big problem in Hartford today. This was the late 70s. It's a SRO problem. And that does not mean standing room only. It meant single room occupancy. So, well, what do we need? And one of those days at the Friendship Center, I looked across, there was St. Peter's Church. Right next to it was a convent, empty. So we tracked down, it was owned by the Daughters of the Holy Spirit up in Putnam, Connecticut. And Father Dave and a Lutheran pastor and I drove up there one day. We said, hey, we'd like to buy this. We don't really have much money. They said, oh, your idea is wonderful. We need money. So we had this wonderful back and forth, came to a price. And for the only time in my real estate career, I'm looking at Mark, see if anyone ever did this for you, Mark. We finished the negotiation. We told them the Center City Board was meeting on the next Wednesday, and they stood at the top of their stairs looking down at us saying, we'll be praying for you on Wednesday. No one has ever said that to me in any other real estate deal. But you know what? It worked. It worked. The meeting was held. The Center City churches, 10 churches within the city. And it was a very difficult meeting. And there was a lot of concern about liability. And so there was kind of, which way was this going to go? Well, we used the scripture prayer of when Jesus said, when you did it for the least of my brothers and sisters, you did it for me. And that carried the day on the evening. And as Jim said, I was president of BOMA at the time. And so I threw this at the BOMA folks, which were all of the institutions and any property owner and any property manager. It was a really vibrant group. Well, all of a sudden, an architect, Alan Ambrose, said, I'll draw the plans for the building because they were not existing. Somebody else from a mechanical company said, well, we'll come in, we'll help you out with this. A builder came in. Bingo, with a lot of effort, we created over 60 units of housing, single room. They were like old nuns' cells. So it was not lavish, but 60 people were able to get into a house, and that exists today as known as St. Elizabeth's House. That really felt good. And by the way, no commission for Bill Farley or the Farley Company. That didn't happen too many times either. So it was right after that the Friendship Center closed. The Center City Churches closed it because my friend Harvey was attacked by a Vietnam vet one morning, and he ruptured his kidneys, and it was a bad thing, so they closed it. Now, by this time, I'm hooked on soup kitchens. This is great. And so I said, what am I going to do? I was over the parking spot deal. So I heard about these 2 nuns, Sister Maureen and Teresa, and Sister Teresa is with us this morning. I call them Nun Such and Attila the Nun at the times. But I knocked on their door one day and said, do you need any help? Yeah, go get behind the counter, serve coffee, which I did. And in the next 14 years, we had this incredible board that was really totally involved. We were serving, Teresa, I may be a little off in these numbers, we were serving about 100,000 meals a year. We created 3 separate shelters. We built, I think it was 34 units of low-income housing on Albany Avenue. We had a program called Home, helping our mothers through education, helping these Hispanic women get their GEDs. And my wife Ruth was really involved in that program. We even created a camp in Vermont to help these kids get out of the city for the summer. I mean, it was a great run. And I was proud and happy to be able to connect the business community to the needs of the House of Bread, and it was a great run. Sister Maureen and Teresa are retiring this year after 43 years of incredible work. Thank you. I was talking to Sister Teresa after I learned they were retiring, and I said, I knew you'd never make it. You're always quitters. So next along came Homeward Bound Foundation. Alan Lazowski mentioned it in that video. In the booming 80s, and by golly, the 80s were booming. I mean, what a time to be in commercial real estate, and particularly in the office market downtown Hartford. A group of entrepreneurs got together because a guy named Frank's Restaurant, for those of you who remember, Frank, well, people wanted to honor him for his birthday, his 75th birthday, I think it was. And he put it off, and then he famously said, okay, you can do it. As long as the money goes to dem bums out there. I could have been one of dem bums. And that's exactly the words that Frank used. So we did a roast of Frank. And then we roasted Jim Calhoun. We roasted Willie Pep. Some of you don't know who's Willie Pep. He was one of the finest boxers of all time, and he came from Hartford. And so we raised in a very short time, maybe 4 or 5 years at the most, we raised $750,000, never had a staff, never paid any staff, used our own, and we raised that money and got it over to 10 different shelters, as I recall. So, you know, it felt really, really good. And then into the 90s, as has been referred to before, Eddie Perez called me. Now, at this point, Ruth and I were snowbirds. We were 2 or 3 months down in Bonita Springs in Florida. It really was good. And one day, I got a call from the mayor. Eddie Perez said, I'd like you to add this commission bill. And I said, no. I said, are you crazy? Absolutely not. I can't do that. Look, I'm down here 3 months a year, blah, blah, blah. I had a hell of a lot of reasons. And I said, no. The next morning, I was on my way to a Bible study group that I was in with a group of Midwestern guys, wonderful guys, and I had the car radio on, and a song played that I had heard countless number of times. But that particular morning, I just really listened to it. It was Anne Murray singing, You Needed Me. And I would counsel each of you to at some point get on one of your devices and listen to that. Anne Murray, You Needed Me. Because it's an interplay of someone with resources, like every one of us in this room, dealing with someone who had no resources. And if you listen to the lyrics carefully, each needed the other, and we do need each other. So I called Eddie back and said, okay, I'll do it. So I get back in Hartford. The mayor did give us a half-time person as a staff. We had, I think it was 19 members on the commission. I was only able to ask 2 because they were all preset. But Sister Judy Carey and Michael Barton, they both had to be residents of Hartford. And then we grew the commission up to roughly 150 people. We had social service workers, we had clergy, we had business people, we had bankers. We just spread across the community, and we worked for 2 years coming up with what we called an implementation plan. And I remember very vividly saying along the way, we're never going to have a big staff on this, and never more than a couple of people on the staff. Last I knew, there are now 21 people on the Journey Home staff. And with Matt and Sarah's leadership, doing just absolutely awesome things. And boy, that really felt good. And I remember going to the mayor's office. We really honestly didn't know what we needed for a budget at the beginning, but we knew we needed money. So I think it was Michael Barton and I went into the mayor's office. We said 2 things. Eddie, we don't think that the city should run this. We don't think any government should run it. We think it should be a private, not-for-profit company. He said, I agree with you. And we then said, we need some seed money here. We need some money. He said, well, what do you need? Dug down deep, and I said, well, we need $150,000 per year for the next 3 years. And he said, well, if the city council agrees to it, we'll do it. And they did. And so Journey Home was off and running, and with a terrific current leadership, it's just been a wonderful thing. So I was going to say that I had some advice for some of the younger people here. And I thought of that, and I said, everybody's younger than me. So the advice is going to apply to each of you and to me. Put on our community big pants, our big boy, big girl pants. And today or within the next week, commit to saying yes to some service. I promise you one thing, it will feel very, very good. Thank you again. God bless.
That was great, Bill. Thank you. Personal note, I started with the Farley Company back in 1987. At the time it was, and obviously CB's there, but definitely at that time it was the preeminent brokerage firm and commercial real estate services firm in Hartford. But it wasn't just the power of the company. To me, it was the people in the company. You know, you had some of the classiest people in the industry, and you were the classiest. All right. You had some of the kindest people in the industry, and you were absolutely the kindest. And I think you just learned today there was also some of the most giving people in the industry, and you were the most giving. So I thank you. One just quick reminder, if you still want to give, there's a help desk out there that you can give to. I want to just give a couple of shout outs. There's a lot of shout outs to give, but I'll give a couple of them. I want to give a shout out to Maura Cook. Maura, she's standing right over there. Gail Millerick. I don't know if you're around. Gail, where are you? Where is she? She's out there? She's not out there, but we can still clap for her. And Deb Fafard, I don't know if she's here. Is Deb around? Where's Deb? Oh, that's I can't see you. I can see the hand. All right. And the entire United Way Central and Northeastern Connecticut team. A round of applause for them. We couldn't do this without them. And one last shout out, and this is to you all, and because many of you are Who's up on that screen? I don't know where that screen is, but it was, oh, there we go. That's pretty impressive. That is really impressive. So thank you all. Ed, take it away.
Great comments, great advice to all of us. Last but not least, want to thank our event steering committee that's made up of really incredible volunteers from our industry. They work throughout the year putting this event together, ensure we make an incremental impact on homelessness here in central and northeastern Connecticut. So let's give them a round of applause, please. Thank you to everyone who donated during today's program. As a reminder, those of you who gave $1,000 or more to this cause now have the opportunity to participate in 2 of United Way's prestigious giving societies. In addition to being a leader in your industry, you will be recognized as a leader in philanthropy and have exclusive opportunities to connect with other philanthropists in our region. As of right now, thanks to everyone in this room, including our sponsors, we've raised $450,000. So please give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you so much. This money's been raised to prevent and reduce homelessness and supporting students at Covenant Prep in honor of Jeff Deagle. So this brings us to a cumulative amount raised over the last years toward this mission of, drum roll please, a lot of twos there, $1,222,221. Somebody give $1 and we can make it 2222222. So that is truly amazing. Our digital program booklet highlights everyone who made this event possible, so please check that out if you haven't already. We hope you've been inspired by what all of us have accomplished and what will be possible in the coming year because of what was raised today. But let's not stop there. I invite you to join with us in continuing to find the best ways for individuals and families to succeed. Thank you so much, and I hope you will join us again next year. Have a great day.